Hey guys, welcome to the Breaking Bad podcast. The Breaking Bread with Stafford Shurden. My special guest today is Roy Waldrup. I've been knowing Roy since he was born.
Yeah.
And it ain't the years, it's the mileage. Roy got great stories. And so even though he's not famous or anything like that, he ought to be. Because he's got great stories to tell us today. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
I got to tell you, I was going to tell you this today. I think I've told you this before. Your granddaddy, if I think about all the guys in my book, your granddad was one of that group, you know. Dole Neal, my daddy, Red Parker, all those guys that are gone now. He's the only one of them left, man.
He's the only one. He's 90 now.
I was thinking about this the other day. They were asking who the oldest person in Drew is. I was like, your granddad's close to the oldest man in
Absolutely.
Drew. Thank you,
Angie. He said something the other day about, there's going to be that one friend that, sees everybody, and then there's going to be that one friend that buries everybody. And he said he was the one that saw everybody and buried everybody.
He buried everybody. I mean, he's the last of Jerry Grissom. I was thinking about Jerry the other day, who carried me to kill my first deer. And I remember going over to Sarah Island, and your granddaddy was the only one that had electricity.
He had a generator.
And so I thought he was rich. I'm a little kid. I'm like, he must be rich. And then years later, I opened up 1933, and he would come in there. One of the waitresses brought me a $50 bill. They said, I ain't 100% sure this is real. And I said, why? She said, it's from 1953. And I said, he probably had it since 1950. Some of that money he had buried in the yard right there. And he would come in every weekend and spend them old $100 bills and stuff. And I think I still have a $5 bill that he left, or a 50 or something like that. That was just old. I said, you got that old rusty money.
Yeah. Well, there's the rumor that he has a $1,000 bill hidden somewhere.
I have heard that,
but nobody knows where it is. Supposedly it was in a book, and so everybody in the family's done checked in every book, but nobody can find it.
Let's hope he knows where it is.
He doesn't. That's the problem. He just says, "I think I hid it here," but
Well, I have heard that for years that he had a $1,000 bill.
He did. He got one. He got one back. I want to say it was in the late 50s or early 60s. He got one, and he had it stored in a safe deposit box. And he decided to be safer at home, and now nobody knows where it is.
I think that Red Parker had one too.
Oh yeah. Well, back in the day, JoJo and Red, they were. Well, that's what I call my grandfather, JoJo. But they were the big timers, and that's Billy Joe's told me all kinds of stories about when Red hit it big with the ponds, and they would go to these DU banquets, and they'd be showing out. And
I was at some of those DU banquets. Let me tell you. So back, people don't know, the 1980s. There was still, even though farming was tough, there was still a lot of money. Early 80s, there still was some of that 1970s money left around. And I remember Red Parker and your granddaddy and James Bryant that owned Bryant Chevrolet and Tallahassee Motors in Sumner, getting in a bidding contest over a blanket, a DU blanket. And it went, this is in the early 80s. Like I'm like not 10 years old yet. And that thing went for like $1,500.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a lot. That's like $10,000 now. And they were laughing and bidding against each other.
Oh, yeah.
It was just a big funny thing.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And DU made so much money right over here in Drew, Mississippi.
Man.
It's a crying shame.
Look, he was telling me, he's told me about the blanket, and he told me about a rug that he was getting for my grandmother. But he said the big thing was there was a doctor, I think in Mound Bayou. Maybe it was Marks, one of the two. Anyways, he said that doctor, every DU bank would come to the Drew chapter, and it was his thing to try to get the gun of the year. And my grandfather said that they would bid, and they would go at it trying to get that shotgun. And he said at the end of it, neither one of them even wanted the shotgun.
They just didn't want to see him get it.
Yeah, they just didn't want to see the other have it.
There's a lot of that going on, man. But Drew, people don't have any idea. But a lot of that was before your time. Sarah Island was so much fun. I was just getting old enough to really enjoy it when we lost it. But I remember stories of your daddy sinking the Argo over there.
Yeah. My grandfather.
Well, your daddy didn't sink the Argo.
My grandfather
he was just in the Argo when it happened.
So my grandfather, I can't remember if it was for my grandmother's birthday, an anniversary, or Christmas. One of the big events. My grandfather, when Argos first got popular, he went and bought her one as a present. You know, and of
Yeah.
course you know that one. That was for him.
Yeah,
And,
for sure.
Yeah, he was playing with it out there in the yard, and I think that was about as most as he got to ride it was out there at the house for a minute. They put it on a trailer, hauled it over there, and instead of putting it on the barge, he's going to drive it across the channel and didn't make it, I think, 15 feet, and that son went belly up.
Man, that was such fun because we had our own little barge, and they pulled it with outboard motors and boats.
Yeah.
So you load everything up on it and pull it across.
Yeah, Broncos, trucks,
Yeah,
horses.
it was
you
so much
named
fun.
It. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, it started out horses. Daddy said they would get out. They loved to ride horses over there. By the time I was old enough, there weren't any horses. It was all three-wheelers. But Daddy said they'd get a deer cut out in the middle of one of those big fields over there.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you can take a quarter horse, just run a deer down.
Oh, yeah.
Because there wasn't any, you get him out in the middle.
Yeah.
And he said, you can run around him. And he said, finally, the deer just lay down.
Just quit.
Just give up.
That's Billy Joe was
They
telling me
didn't kill a
about deer
deer. They
hunting
just,
off of them too. Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
thought that was fun to cut those deer down and cut them out. I say cut them down. Get around them and cut them off.
Do them like a cattle, you know,
Yep.
do them like a cow. Billy Joe was telling me about deer hunting on horseback. He said, you know, you can ride right up to them on a horse as long as you're not being aggressive riding, you're just taking it easy. He said a deer, for some reason, sees a horse and doesn't see it as a threat, whereas, you know, a human walking, that's a predator.
Yeah.
And so he said, more deer have been killed off horseback than anything in this country, I believe. Well, that and squirrels, you know.
Oh, it's been a minute. And hogs.
Yeah.
I went hog hunting. I've never told this story on camera, but I went hog hunting with Dr. Blackwood and all that bunch over on Cock Island one time. And I hope Dr. Blackwood didn't get mad at me telling this story, but so we get over to Cock Island, and they got the hog dogs out. And the dogs get a hog cornered right on the edge of the river, and they're trying to get the hog shot before the dogs drown it because the dog's pushing it out in the river. And Dr. Blackwood pulls this 30-30 out of a scabbard on the horse, and it pulls that hammer back and goes off and shoots the horse.
Oh, gosh.
And the horse rears back, and the back of that horse's head hits Dr. Don in the face. And he is bleeding like Mike Tyson had hit him. Didn't knock him out. I don't know how it didn't knock him out. Well, if you know Dr. Don, he's the toughest man alive.
Oh, yeah.
And we get the horse settled down, and it grazed the hair off that horse's hind quarter.
Really?
It was a stripe about that long that was pink.
Couldn't be any luckier.
Yeah, couldn't be any luckier. Here comes lunch. She didn't play around.
Thank you, Miss Angel.
Man, that's fresh right there.
Ain't no doubt.
Fresh. It's Monday, so we got red beans and rice and pork chops.
It doesn't get any better than that.
No, I didn't get the greens. I'm not, I can take or leave greens.
I like greens, but it's seasonal for me. I can't eat them during the summer.
I can take them or leave them. It don't matter. But that pork chop that she makes, I usually get chicken, but that pork chop is pretty good.
You can't beat a fried pork chop up here. I say that. You can. You get the fried ribs.
The fried ribs are good. I actually, for years, wouldn't eat a fried rib, and then I got to where I was like, man, that's the best thing I've ever eaten. And now I'd rather have a fried pork chop. Personally.
Absolutely.
But we just do red beans and rice on Monday because they do that in New Orleans. We just copying them, honestly. In New Orleans, they said that was wash day, and they would do red beans and rice on wash day because they were easy and it's a hearty meal.
Well, I can tell you this. Your red beans and rice absolutely saved my marriage when my wife was pregnant. And so I appreciate that. I'm not going to lie to you.
Angie makes them homemade, too. Like, we buy the dried beans,
and soak
like
them.
Oh, yeah. She does it right.
way.
Yeah, it's not canned.
Yeah. Well, that's what my wife, she would throw a fit. She wanted red beans and rice and Nisha's fried chicken. She said it's got to be fried by Nisha.
Nisha can fry that chicken. I'm going to tell you something, though. She's taught Red how to fry it. Red can fry that chicken, too.
I'll have to get Red to do it one day. Have a comparison. We'll bring my wife up here. Let her
Just saying, you can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
So, you moved up to Alaska when?
I want to say it was in 99.
How old were you in
I
99?
was 6 or 7.
You
Yeah, I was 5 or 6 when
So
we
you
moved.
spent kind of some formative years there in Alaska.
I spent a majority. I spent my teenage years all in Alaska. And so, back it up, prior to that, the year before we moved to Alaska, we moved to Florida. So my dad could race NASCAR. And he did that
I
for
didn't
a
know
year.
that.
Yeah, he did. He raced NASCAR. He was sponsored. He raced a Hooters car.
What?
Yeah, he did
How
that.
did I miss that?
Yeah, he did that for a year while we lived in D-Land,
I
Florida.
really need to get your dad on there because there's nothing he has not done.
Nothing. There's nothing.
I
That
always
man-
tell people, if Bill Waldrup tells you a story and you go, that can't be true, it's absolutely true.
100%. The man got bored when he was, I want to say, 20-something years old and wanted to get out of Drew, so he went to guide school in Montana, got his license to guide big game hunts, guided in Montana for years, and was farming here, and then just decided one day he wanted to pursue his dream of racing, and that's what we did. We packed up, moved to Florida, and he raced.
I don't know how I missed
Yeah.
that. I did not know that.
Yep. He put me, my brother, and my sister, 2 or 3 dogs, my mama, in a F-250 crew cab pulling a camper. We left here and went to D-Land, Florida. They bought a house. He raced. He had a bad accident in one of the races. He retired from it. He said, look, I followed my dream. My mama said, it's my turn. And we packed up in the same F-250 in the same camper. It was a 97 crew cab, long bed, long wheelbase with a camper shell on the back. My dad opened the back window.
I remember that truck.
Yeah. And we left D-Land, Florida, pulling an Airstream camper. 3 kids, 2 dogs, 2 parents, and drove from D-Land, Florida to Fairbanks, Alaska.
That's about the longest trip you can take in America.
Absolutely, man. It was I mean, looking at it
That's
now,
like 3,500 miles or something like that.
something like that,
Yeah.
give or take. It was a solid week of traveling, pulling a camper. And looking at it now, you think somebody saying, well, we're going to go to Alaska. You're like, that's crazy. That's going to cost you so much to drive. Well, back then, fuel was a lot less, but still you think about moving your whole family, just uprooting and going. Like, that's just something that's not heard of nowadays.
But y'all loved it, didn't you?
Absolutely. Everyone asks me, when are you going back to Alaska? And I tell them I'm not, for the simple fact, if I go up there, I'm not coming back. I'm going to stay.
So I've never been, especially to the part y'all were at. But it does seem like there's some weird similarities between there and here.
There is a lot.
Like rednecks for one.
Yeah, you would not believe the amount of people I met from Mississippi in Alaska. And I'm not talking about like in the big cities. In the remote villages where I lived, just about every one of them had somebody from Mississippi living there. We lived in a little village called Chalkeetzik.
How
It was-
remote we talking?
Oh, a good 4-hour plane ride from Fairbanks north. So in the Arctic Circle, it's fly in or boat only. And you could take a snowmobile in the winter. And
Do you get on the river and take a snowmobile or
yes,
something like that?
Yes, follow the river with the snowmobile when it freezes solid.
That's wild.
And there was 60 people, and that was adults, children, everybody in the village was 60. That was
There'll be more people in the restaurant today than
Absolutely, absolutely. And there was one guy, and his name was Ed McCowan, and he was from Greenville, Mississippi. From Greenville. He went up there chasing the pipeline, working, met a woman, got married, fell in love. She was from the village, and they moved out there. And Ed ended up having a son. His son, Randy, still lives in Fairbanks. I talk to Randy from time to time, and just great folks, but it's crazy how small the world is when you think about it. You
It
go,
is.
3,500 miles away from home, and you find the most remote place there is to live in, and there's somebody that was from the next town over.
Did your mom teach? Isn't that what she was doing?
Yeah, so she's a SPED teacher. She had, I want to say she has masters in SPED, and she was also a principal, and she was a PE coach in the school because we only had 2 teachers.
In the whole school.
Mm-hmm.
That is wild. And so what do the guys do for work up there?
A lot of them trap. I did a lot of trapping, fur trapping, and hauling wood for the town for people to burn. So up there we didn't have running water. There was no running water in any of the houses except for the school housing. And everybody had wood burning stoves. There wasn't propane heaters and central heat and air. No, everything was a log cabin that was hand built. Every one of them had a wood burning stove in it. You hauled water, 55-gallon barrel with the top cut off of it behind a 4-wheeler or a snowmobile. You'd go down, they had a washateria that pumped water out of the river, filtered it, cycled it through, cleaned it, did everything. And they had about a 3-inch charge hose hanging off. And you'd go inside, you'd park your barrel under there, go inside, flip the switch, and watch out the window until it got about full, and you'd cut the switch off and carry it back to your house, take buckets and scoop it out of that barrel and put it in your house. Yep.
That's a whole different way of life, man.
Man, it was...
I mean, that's like living in the 1800s.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And I'll tell you what was crazy. So they had power, and it was via generators, large generators, diesel generators, and it would be so cold they wouldn't cut the motors off, the generators, when they were changing the oil, because it was so cold outside. It'd be 60, 70 degrees below zero. They would have one guy pouring the oil in, and one guy would pull the drain plug and be draining the oil out of it while pouring in fresh oil. And then once it cleared out coming out of the pan, they'd put the cap back on it and top it back off with oil.
I guess if you cut it off, you might not get a crank.
Absolutely.
Especially a diesel.
Mm-hmm. I seen it so cold up there, my Bluetooth skip on my truck.
Jesus.
We've had some, yeah. Everything up there has a grid heater, vehicle-wise. The last village we lived in, of course, I had a truck. You could drive to it, which it was Circle City. I was at the end of the Steese Highway. And I don't quote me on the mileage because I'm spitballing, but I think it was around 300 miles, and probably 200 of those miles was gravel, roadway to go to the end of the Steese. The Steese Highway ended in the Yukon River. When you drove the Steese Highway, at the very end of it, it was a boat ramp right into the Yukon River. There was a big sign that says, Circle City, the end of Steese Highway, and that was it. You didn't drive any farther north than that other than going up, to Nome or any of those on the I can't remember the name of that roadway over there, but yeah, it was something, man. We would cross, I think, 3 mountain passes, and during the winter times, they had big gates that they would drop. If there was a big snowstorm, they would close off the roadway so nobody could drive and get lost, or, a lot of people pass away because they would be going through there and a blizzard would hit. Well, they'd close the gates. Trapped. Yeah, nobody could get in there to get them, and they would essentially just freeze to death in their vehicle because it'd get so cold they'd run out of gas or what. And it was. I still remember it clear as day because I was driving then. I was 17 crossing that mountain pass, and during the winter time, telephone poles would be up and they had marker indications on them to tell you how deep the snow was, and it'd be all the way up there. It'd be nothing but that much of the pole standing out of the snow and the little light hanging off the side of the roadway.
I think I could survive if it was warm and isolated, but cold and isolated, I'm not so sure.
It's a different mindset, a different way of life, but they're all trying to do the same thing that we're doing. You're just surviving. Yep.
You ever watch True Detective on HBO?
No, sure can't say that I have.
So they had the first season that was in New Orleans, and Matthew McConaughey was in it, and he was one of the detectives, and Woody Harrelson was one. But they recently might have been the third or fourth season of it. Every season's a different group of actors. But they're where you were.
Yeah, sir.
And just the isolation, they really focus on the isolation of it.
Absolutely.
Like there are these murders happening. Well, they can't go anywhere. Nobody can come in.
Absolutely. So when something would happen in the village, you call the state troopers. They might get there in 3 hours. They might get there in 3 days.
Yeah.
You don't know. You know what I mean? And it was and it's all dependent on weather, whether they can fly or not, whether it's warm enough for the planes to
The hell does a state trooper in Alaska do, Like, really?
They fly out.
Not a lot of speeding, I wouldn't think.
They fly out and they'll handle murder cases.
Kind of like ours.
Yeah, domestic abuses. The same things that our sheriffs would handle here, the state troopers handle all of that in Alaska. You don't have sheriffs and things like that. You just have state troopers. And they would fly in with their airplane and come get whoever they had to get. And, we always had the joke whenever there was a white guy in a village, he was hiding from something. You didn't just go way out there for anything. You were hiding from something, And so whenever the troopers would come in, when the troopers left,
there's a white guy.
Yeah, everybody would be like, there he is, or they'd go check on him after the troopers left.
Yeah.
And my dad always tells this story, so I'm going to steal it from him. But the first village that we moved to was Anvik, Alaska. And we got in there, and my dad walked into the post office, and in the post office, they have all the FBI's most wanted pictures up on the thing. And my dad was standing in there, and he said there was a guy over there who just kept looking at my dad, and he's flipping the sheet, checking that.
It's the first thing they do when you come to town.
Yeah, they make
you're not
sure
a murderer or something.
Yeah. And my dad always tells that story, and it's funny as can be. But no, we had a great time. The only way I can really explain my childhood to somebody and they'd understand is reading Huckleberry Finn. I was a wild child. I got to run around on the rivers. I got to hunt, fish. We didn't have video games and cell phones. I didn't get a cell phone until I was 18. I lived down here for a year before I had a cell phone.
Yeah.
And there was no point in me getting a driver's license. I know I went 3 years of my life without even seeing asphalt or blacktop. I did not even acknowledge it existing. And I mean, we would go, moose hunting every fall. We would duck hunt in the spring. We'd fish all summer.
Did you kill many ducks up there?
Oh my God. I've killed every North American species of waterfowl before I was 19 years old. I'd harvested all North American species. And I tell you what's the funny thing about that. I traveled all over Alaska. We hunted. We lived on the coast, lived in the remote villages up in the bush, all over the state. And I was able to harvest every one of them except for a wood duck. Wood ducks don't migrate that far. They do not go to Alaska.
That kind of makes sense.
It took me, I think, 3 years down here before I killed a wood duck. All of my buddies would be like, "Oh man, I've got a whole slap full of them. You take me to shoot mallards and gadwalls, and I'll take you to shoot more wood ducks than you can kill." We'd go to their hole and be nothing but mallards and gadwalls. We'd go to my hole, be nothing but mallards and gadwalls.
I've killed a few banded wood ducks.
Really?
Yeah. Several of them, actually.
I've never killed a banded wood duck, which I've gotten, other banded birds, of course, because we harvested so many of them up there. It's just easy up there. We didn't need decoys. We would just go sit out in the middle of a marsh, and if there's water, they're coming to it, And
really,
and me and all of my friends, which a lot of the natives that I grew up with, very good friends of mine, and we would take a hot tent, some salt and pepper, a pan, and we would leave, and we'd be gone, a week. 14 years old, get on a four-wheeler and be gone duck hunting for a week. It was normal up there. That's just, we would go survive. We'd put up the hot tent, have a stove burning. We'd sleep in there, take our shotguns, and we'd shoot ducks. We'd eat the ducks that we killed up there. And
is it I guess in a way it's more trouble you can get in because you got more freedom. But is it also less trouble because the influence of the outer world is not there?
Absolutely,
Like this thing's like drugs. How would you even get that up there?
Well, you wouldn't believe it. Alaska is one of the top states for drug addiction problems because it's so dark and it's cold during the winter.
So the dark I couldn't handle.
Well, the people, they essentially trying to find something to do. Well, they get depressed in those bad times, so they start doing drugs. Drugs are a huge problem in Alaska now.
How do they get it up there?
Just guys trafficking it in just like they would here. They will buy it in the big cities and hide it in boxes and mail it out to the remote villages, and there's every town's gonna have a drug dealer, and it's the way the world works now, I guess. I hate to say that because I hate the stuff, but I mean it's just, and it's a bad thing, And
so you brought up something that I wasn't even thinking about when we started. How much of the year was dark where you guys were?
So where I lived at, we would have probably 3 days where the sun didn't come up, and
At all.
It would stay dark. That was dead middle of the winter.
Like about now?
Right.
It's the 15th today.
Yeah, right around now. And so it'd start, the sun would slowly get lower and lower as it came up, and then eventually you'd see it just clip the trees, and the next time you'd just see a glow from it. And then you'd have 3 days where you wouldn't even see a glow from it. And then it'd start, peeking back again, and it'd come back in. Well, summertime is polar opposite. We'd have 3 days where the sun didn't go down. It would come all the way down, touch the trees, and come right back up again, and we would play baseball on the airport. Everybody would.
The term polar opposite actually comes from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we would all get together. Everybody, the men, children, women, everybody would get together on the airport and bring, grills, and people would get moose meat and caribou and whatever else we've got that we brought from town, and we would just have a big cookout and everybody play baseball just because
on that longest day. In June, I guess.
The
probably.
Summer solstice.
Yeah.
And we would have us just a great time out there, the whole town, and it's a lot like here. A small town's going to stick together. Same thing up there. It didn't matter if so and so was arguing with so and so. We're going to go out here and we're all going to play baseball. We're going to cook.
Well, the name of 60 of you. You start arguing, you won't have any friends.
You work out your differences real quick.
Yeah. I do think that's some of what's wrong with the world is we're trying to be friends with too many people. Almost like, if it's like our little old church. Yep, we couldn't argue. It wasn't enough of us to argue. If you started arguing, we wouldn't have a church.
Absolutely, man.
And I do think that we're trying to put out. We're trying to worry about what's going on in Walla Walla, Washington. And I don't even know anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't even worry about our neighbor right there.
That's a fact.
That pork chop's good, isn't it?
I'm telling you, dude. You can't beat this pork chop with a stick.
I don't know. Well, one of the reasons it's good is she does beat it with a stick. She'll be back. I walked out. She said, it's just me pounding on these pork chops. And she's got her big mallet, and she pounds those things out in the morning. And so the pork chop sandwiches, she does the same way. Does the chicken for the chicken sandwich the same way. She
really
beat the hell out of that meat back there, man. They just back there with a mallet. She broke the end off of one of them.
Got to thinking about her youngins when she was doing it.
I guess so. Nisha scares. She's about that much shorter than me, and I'm short, and Nisha scares me a little bit.
Shoot. We love Nisha, though.
Yeah, we do. She knows Nisha. I'm kidding.
Oh, man. But yeah, no, absolutely. If y'all haven't tried his, I really recommend you getting by here to try it. And you need to get up here on the fried rib day. That's
Well, that's what, when Chris Lynn was here the other day, that's what it was Thursday, so he had the fried ribs, and he was like, man, it just goes to show you that everybody doesn't agree. So Chris and I walk outside. It was cold. Was colder today than it was that day. We're standing out there. He's in a short sleeve shirt. Mm-hmm. Chris grew up on the river, and we were just talking about those ribs. He said, "Man, I'm telling you, that ribs changed my life." And a guy walks out, and he looked at me. He said, "You own this place?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "That's the worst meal I've ever had."
Really?
I said, "What'd you get?" He said, "The fried ribs." He said, "That's terrible." Well, then we get talking to him. He doesn't eat fried food. I think he thought it was going to be something. He said, "I thought this was a sandwich place." I said, "Well, we got sandwiches." But he got in the truck and left, and Chris kind of looked at me. He said, "Man, that guy's crazy."
Absolutely.
I said, "No, it's just different people like different stuff." You know?
Well, I can tell you right now, it don't matter if they like the food or not. They're going to like the atmosphere and the people.
Angie will treat you so many ways you're bound to like one.
Absolutely. And I tell you,
that girl.
And the thing is it's not just Angie, which I love Angie to death. She's as amazing as can be.
Yeah.
But pre-Angie.
Had Bryce.
Yep, we had Bryce, and you had all the others. Do you remember when I used to bring my blue heeler up here?
Oh, yeah.
And y'all would fix him a plate lunch every day?
Yep.
I had that popped up in my picture album the other day as a memory, and it was my dog Zip was sitting there eating a plate lunch with me. And I posted on my Snapchat. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember when you posted that.
Mm-hmm.
I hate, because next year, and now that I'm kind of going all in on the podcast, trying to do one a week,
mm-hmm.
I hate Bryce isn't here for that because she would be such a great addition. Just to have her over there color commentating.
No,
she
absolutely.
She got to be on camera.
Absolutely.
The things that girl says, I don't understand how her brain works, but she's funny.
Well, I can tell you this, there's a lot of people they'll call them like a light in a room.
She is.
Bryce is a rainbow. Because you don't know what color you're getting, you don't know what's coming out.
But she's a light, too.
Absolutely.
She brightens the room when she comes in the room.
Absolutely. She's the happiest person you'll ever meet in your life.
She is. She's like my third daughter. She was here for 13 years. I watched her grow up, and she's doing good, so we're proud of her.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it would be fun to have her for some of this stuff. Yeah, just to have somebody standing on the other side of the camera to make sure that damn thing is still on, because I'm always like, is it on? I can't tell.
Oh, man.
But we're just filming with my phone for those that don't know, and you don't. I think it's on, but I don't know.
Look, I had a picture the other day, and I think it was from 12 years ago, and it was me and Bryce on that couch right there, and Hunter Morrison was here.
Yeah.
We were sitting on that couch talking, and we were talking, man, that popped up, and I was like, God, we were kids,
Look, we got to tell a story. I don't know why this just popped in my head. So one day he comes by, and he's showing me his rifle, it looks like an assault rifle. Not really an assault rifle, but it looks like an assault rifle. And I'm out there, and he takes a picture right out here in front. And then about 2 days later, I'm going to let you tell this part of the story. 2 days later, I get a call from him.
Well, you talking about our incident up the road?
Yeah.
All right, so my stupidity.
I had not thought about this until for some reason it popped in my head.
I try not to talk about this one a lot. This wasn't my greatest moment in life, but
it wasn't that bad though. Really, it's funny now.
Well, yeah, it's funny now, but at the time, I could have done some serious time. But it happens. So one of my best friends.
They wasn't going to send you to jail. I can tell you that.
Well, when the guy told me call whoever you can, we'll get to that. Anyways, so my best friend's in Portland, and he's working. He's doing field work on a tractor, and he called me. He said, "Look, I need some DEF for my tractor, and I need a lunch. The guy that was supposed to be bringing me I can't get up with him." Well, I had everything in my truck, normal stuff that I keep riding around farming and all. I said, "Well, yeah, I'll run up there, and I'll bring you a lunch, and I'll bring you some DEF. That's no problem." I had my blue heeler in the truck with me. I'll take off up there, and I get to the front gates, and I realize just about everything on that list that says you can't have, I had. Except for, drugs.
Yeah.
But I had a roll of dip. I had a bunch of guns, a bunch of bullets, knives, I had beer in my cooler.
Just for some context, though,
Yeah.
we're talking about Parchman Penitentiary. And Parchman is not one big gate with one prison. It's 18,000 acres, and a lot of it's farmland that's leased out to farmers. So you can be on Parchman and be nowhere close to an inmate or anything
Absolutely,
like that.
absolutely. And so it was dry. We hadn't had rain in probably 2 months, and he was doing field work. Well, I pulled up to the gate and I told them, the situation. They said, "No, you can't come in. You've got too much." I asked them if they could give me a ride over there, and they said, "No, we're not allowed to do that," which is understandable. They're doing their jobs. Well, smart me thinking, I'm going to turn around. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to hit this county road on the outside of Parchman. I'm just going to cross this ditch because he's over there.
See,
close
I didn't
to
know
the
this
ditch.
part. I just thought you immediately crossed the ditch.
No, and I went on around, and
But he had land on both sides of the ditch anyway, didn't he?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I went across one of his fields. I crossed the ditch, and I didn't go 50 yards across the line. And I'm stopped putting Death in his tractor, and he's eating lunch, and my blue heeler jumps out of the truck. And as soon as my blue heeler jumped out of the truck, I heard sirens. I heard trucks. I heard everything. If you could hear it, I heard it. And they surrounded us. They got me. And they look, we know you didn't come through them gates because that dog, and of course, they handcuffed me and took me in. They had me sitting inside there in that big old room with the jail cell and all. They searched through my truck, and they brought every single illegal item on Parchman grounds and put it on that table. And when I tell you it was a 10-person dining room table covered, they had it. Every bullet was itemized and cataloged. Every gun was itemized, cataloged, serial numbers. Every knife was measured, cataloged.
Well, there's the amount of ammunition that worried them, I think. They were like, my God.
Yeah, I had an abnormal amount of ammunition and guns. I'd been shooting.
But you always have an abnormal amount of ammunition, to be fair.
Well, that day I had an abnormal amount for me even because I was out shooting that day and we were doing some sports shooting and whatnot. And the day prior, and I took it out of my truck, I had I think 7 or 8 guns and probably 4,000 or 5,000 rounds of ammunition in there, and they had everything lined out, and that guy was sitting there, and I can't remember his name, but he was in charge, and he was just looking at it, and he had his hands crossed, and he was sitting at the table just like I am. He was looking at it. And finally, he just laughed, and he looked at me, and he said, "Is there anybody you can call that will vouch for you and get you out of this?" Because I'm trying to tell them, I'm pleading to them like, "Look, I'm not a bad person. I'm not trying to go get them."
You're not here to
I said,
break anybody out.
I said, if I was coming to do bad things, I wouldn't have been putting fuel and death in a tractor and feeding a fella lunch, or having my dog. And he was like, "I believe you, but I got to have, somebody to vouch." And I said, "If you'll give me my phone right now, I'll make one phone call and it will clear up everything." And when I tell you that was the longest period in my life of a phone ringing was when I was calling you. And you answered the phone and I said, "Judge, I've done it this time."
And for more context, I was justice court judge back then, and I knew all those guys because they called me all the time with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were wanting a reason to let you go, in fairness.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they were looking for a reason to let you go, or they wouldn't even call me. They would have called me and said, "We need a court hearing on this guy." But they did. They asked about that gun, and I said, "If you'll go through his phone, there's a picture of me holding it."
So, well, look, when they cut me loose, they put everything back in my truck. And I'm talking about they didn't just throw it in there. They put everything back in there exactly how it was. They run a tight-knit operation up there. There was no
Well, that's when
question.
Johnny Rogers was in charge up there. And Johnny ran a tight-knit. I don't know what they do now.
I don't either, and I try to avoid it at all costs. I'm telling you. But,
well, I tell you, after that, and it was about that same time period when Cody Norris got fired up there, because he had a little small bottle of alcohol in the door pouch on the other side, and they just did a random check of his vehicle and found it. And I mean, Cody would do stuff like he would leave his cigarettes on the side of the road by Jimmy Reed's house, so that when he got out, he could get his cigarettes and smoke. And he was like, "Why would I do that if I'm going to leave alcohol?" And they told him, they said, "We believe you, but we got to write it up."
Absolutely.
And I made between those two things, I got to where if Johnny and them called me, I said, "Johnny, I don't mean any harm, but y'all can come out the front gate and bring me to warrant. I'm not coming in there and getting in trouble too, because there's a real good chance there's a bullet in a door pouch."
Absolutely. And I mean, everybody carries a pistol in their truck.
So they got lock boxes. I used to go in and lock my pistol in with a lock box, and I'm like, "I ain't doing all that. Y'all can come out to the front gate, and I'll sign it at the front gate." Yeah.
Well, look, when they turned me loose, they took me out the front gates. They parked my truck. They let me out. They uncuffed me. They told me to sit on that tailgate until they were back in the gates.
Did they really?
Absolutely. And I sat on that tailgate, and I kicked my feet, and I crossed my hands, and I waited till I couldn't even see their truck anymore. They were out of sight, gone. And I got in my truck, and I got to thinking about it, and I said, I'm missing something. And I climbed back out of there, and I went back and I looked in bed at my truck. My Yeti cooler was gone.
You didn't even call him, did you?
Slap full of Michelob beer. And I said, you know what? I ain't worrying about it. Y'all can have that son gun. I ain't. And would you believe it, Mr. Hunt? You remember Mr. Hunt that was working up there? He called me 2 days later. Yeah, Jim. Jim called me 2 days later, and he said, hey, Roy, I need you to come pull me out of the ditch. I done run off in the ditch. I said, all right, this was a normal thing. He'd just go ride back roads, talking on the phone, playing and texting. He just creeping. He wasn't going fast, doing anything wrong. And he called me to come pull him out, and I went over and I pulled him out, and I seen my cooler in the back of his truck. And I said, Mr. Hunt, that's my cooler. He said, yeah, I was meaning to bring that to you. And he said, it's a little lighter now, but you go ahead and get it. Yep, I carried that
things that can only happen in Mississippi right there,
no doubt, man.
Yeah, Parchment is the biggest prison besides Angola, I think.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
And the same guy used to run Angola runs Parchment.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we went up, we responded there last week for a fire call inside one of the units there.
Really?
One of the inmates had
lit a fire. You in the fire department now?
I am.
Ruville or here?
Ruville and North Sunflower.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I'm covering north end of Sunflower County and Ruville. Yes, sir. I did that about 8 months ago, give or take. I joined. It's awesome. I love it.
Really?
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Who's the fire chief down there now?
Kenneth Luna, great guy.
Kenneth is.
Yes,
I
Kenneth
didn't know that.
Great guy. He's
Kenneth
amazing.
living?
He lives out there by me, outside of Dockery right there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, over.
I thought he moved for some reason.
His brother Keith did.
I know Keith moved.
Keith moved to Gore Springs, but Kenneth lives over off of.
I don't know why
Road.
I thought Kenneth moved closer to his work down there.
Yeah, no, he's awesome though, man. When I tell you,
So Kenneth and me and Kenneth and Keith, we are not quite related, but we're almost related. So Frick and Elbert were married into the same family, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why Frick always worked out of our office up there on the highway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we always count each other's kin, even though we kind of not.
I understand.
But so Frick's, if you remember Frick's dirt moving thing, which is their daddy, was called Lou Sheriff.
Yep.
Luna and Shurden. That's what the Lou Sheriff stood for. Yep.
And look,
that's going way back right there.
We have an awesome group of guys over there. Though I'll say, we got Taylor Oswald, we got Josh Flemings. Josh Flemings and Taylor are both our captains, and our first lieutenant Joel Hammonds, and then we have a whole bunch of us that are in there, and it's just a really good group of guys. It's solid.
Yeah.
When you walk in there with them and you're hanging out with everybody, you're like, I know these guys are going to take care of me. I'm not going to be in a situation where I'm like, look, I got to have somebody, because there's always going to be one.
That's kind of cool for a small town in the Delta, probably.
Absolutely, man.
That doesn't have paid. I mean, what do y'all get, like a free water bill or something like that?
No, we don't even get that.
Drew gets a free water bill. That's all they get.
I think in Ruville we get paid like $2 a call or something, and then that $2 goes to the station for fees for membership fees.
Yeah. Drew gets something like that, but then they get free water bill. And they're like, if I was on it, I wouldn't, because I'm on a well.
Yeah.
But if you live in town, you get a free water bill. You might if you lived in town.
If I lived in town.
And it's like, that's not much. But I remember back in the day, in Drew, that was a big deal to be on the fire department, man. Larry Barr was the fire chief. And that was a paid position then. I don't know is it a paid position?
No, it's not. Everything is
It was a paid position back then. The fire chief was everywhere. And Larry Barr was like, everything was to the letter. A lot of people didn't like Larry. They thought he was overkill. But,
it's better to be overkill than be in a situation where you're in
his son Lawrence.
Pickle.
Yeah. Lawrence Barr.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Lawrence's daddy, everything, all this ducks were in a row.
Yeah.
They had a pump that they had to get the insurance to go down, right? So Drew buys this pump, and it's like for skyscrapers or something. It'll shoot water way up in there. And so it would pump so much water they couldn't hook it up to the system. So to try it out, they took it up. Larry had those fish ponds just outside of town here by where his daddy lived. And they said you could drop that thing over in the fish pond and watch the water level go down.
Really?
So Thomas Hall was in it, and he said whatever the fire didn't burn up, he said we can knock it down with that thing. He said he would just blow through a brick wall.
Well, so our leader over EM1, Mitch Ramage, he's a great guy as well.
I know Mitch.
Yeah, you know Mitch. He's over Sunflower County, and then we have James Ferguson and a few other guys that were instructors down there, because I'm taking some of my courses through them to get certified, and they were telling me about the school fire here in Drew. And they said that's the first time they pumped a city out of water. Yeah,
I mean, that was a hell of a fire.
Yeah, absolutely. It was huge. I think it was 5 responding districts that showed up for it.
Such a sad thing, man, because that was a cool building.
It's a very historical building.
It was, and it's partially the fault of the city and county leaders because they didn't take care of it. When you leave something vacant and open, people are going to abuse it.
Teenagers.
Something's going to happen.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, so you can be mad at the kids, but it's a failure of a lot of different
It's a
things
lot of
that led
stuff.
to
Yeah,
that.
oh, absolutely. But, I mean, and you got to think about it. Small town like this, we don't have anything for the kids to do
Nope.
anymore.
That's kind of my point.
And,
It's
yeah,
a failure of a lot of different
absolutely. And they're going to find something to do because kids are kids. You know, I'm grown and I still find something to do when I get 5 minutes of free time, whether my wife likes it or not. You know, she yells at me more than somebody should, I think, but I deserve it. You know?
things. Yeah.
Well, shoot, that's what, talking about that. So yesterday morning, me and one of my best friends, we got the wild hair ideas, 2 of us together. We said, we're just going to go duck hunting. We're going to go out here. We unloaded my surface drive. We ran up through the break there and got set up. And we wore them out. We got a 2-man limit. And we're getting ready to go. And I go to fire up my motor, pick up decoys, and the throttle's froze wide open on it. So I just hit the kill switch. When I hit the kill switch, that thing wouldn't start again. The starter button froze in, the kill switch froze in, the motor's turning over, but it wouldn't fire. The carburetor's wide open and went out there today. So I'm just going to thaw it out and try to get it out. That thing won't turn over a lick. It's done. So we broke ice to get the boat. We ended up having to leave the decoys the second day. They're frozen in the ice out there right now. And we just walked out. We called it quits. We that was that, you know. Well, that's some of that stuff, you know, I should have been on my P's and Q's instead of going. And we're in the duck hole. My wife calls me. The water's frozen. Baby's mad. And she's tired. Yeah, that was this morning. You know? And so I had to walk back out of the duck hole, and the mud's, you know, knee to waist deep.
Let me just tell you from experience, Les, if there is no running water at home, Mama is not happy.
That is a
So
fact.
I got up this morning and my water heater had some kind of way. Like usually the house gets drafty. We live in an old house, and it'll blow the water heater out about once a year. And that was this morning. So I get up, turn the water on. Thank God I got up like at 5:30 before she needed to shower, you know. So I turn the water on, and I'm brushing my teeth, waiting on the water to get out. And I reach over there, and it is ice cold. I'm like, dang it. So I go light the water heater, get it lit back, you know. And I said, look now, baby, you're going to have to wait till about 7 to take a shower. And so she texts me. I said, did the water get out? Well, it was lukewarm. So I was still in the doghouse a little bit, you know.
Sure.
And then I went after, you know, I went like 9 o'clock, took my shower, because I got to have one every day.
Absolutely.
Even going duck hunting. Used to, I'd get to go duck hunting. I'd wake up last minute, throw my clothes on, go. I wake up, take a shower,
You got to list
sit down and drink me a Diet Coke, get my caffeine.
So, when I was a teenager and early 20s, it was go, 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 go. And everybody told me when you hit 30, that's all going to change. Well, I'll tell you, it's delayed a year. I outran it, you know, but I only outran it by a year. At 31, I started aching, and I'm like, look, I don't have anything planned tomorrow. I'm going to sleep in. Well, sleeping in's till 9 o'clock now. You know?
Yeah.
It used to be I'd go out and party all night and wake up at lunch and start the day, you know, on a Saturday. Well, now it's, you know, I'm going to sleep in. 9 o'clock, I'm up
I
and
wait
at
till
'em.
you might sleeping in is like 7:15.
Yeah.
I can't sleep past 7 much.
Man, look.
Sunday I slept till about 6:15. I woke up, looked at my phone, and finally about 7 I got up, got in the shower. But
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know, man. I don't want to lay in that bed.
Yeah. Well, look, you talking about.
I ain't got so many years left. I want to spend them upright.
Yeah. You talking about, you know, stuff like that. It made me think about when we were in Alaska. When we first got there, it was the middle of summer, and my mom and dad told us, they said, y'all be home when the street lights come on. We were in Fairbanks. You know, there's street lights. It's a big city. Well, we took out playing with some kids, and we played and we played and we played, and my parents were apparently looking for us because we hadn't came home because the street lights hadn't come on. Well, the sun hadn't gone down for the street lights to come on yet, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And
You took that seriously.
Yeah, 3 of us are gone. You know, we were wild kids. We were
Now, Fairbanks is a pretty good sized place.
Absolutely. They had, you know, Walmarts and fast food restaurants and stuff
Yeah.
like that, you know. We would go in, my mom would fly to town once a month and get supplies, you know, groceries. She'd buy a few $1,000s worth of groceries and bring them back out.
Could you imagine what it'd be like to be a bush pilot up there?
Oh, man, it's wild.
They call themselves bush pilots?
Oh,
Is that what
yeah.
they call
Oh,
themselves
yeah.
up there?
Oh, yeah. And number one toolkit for a bush pilot in Alaska, you got to have a roll of baling wire, at least 3 rolls of duct tape, a patch of canvas, and some, it's like a tar thing for patching that canvas, you know, over the holes. They'd carry that. And it's more times in Alaska, you would see airplanes with wings chewed on from bears, and if somebody dropped a wrapper in a plane and they landed on a sandbar, they'd go hunting. Well, the bear's going to get in there and he's going to rip that canvas off the side of them little bitty 2-seater planes. And they would just take duct tape and wrap around them, and they'd fly that song on another 200, 300, 400 miles. Didn't matter. They'd just be buzzing around. You'd see airplanes come land in. They'd have duct tape flapping off the wings, and just, it was wild, man. It was.
That does not give you a lot. Have you ever walked up to the plane and went, I don't know about this?
Well, see, up there, it was normal. You know what I mean?
Just, you just got used to it.
Yeah, and so when I got down here and everybody's talking about, well, I'm scared to fly. I'm scared, look at that plane. It only holds 6 people. And I was like, man, I had a guy trying to teach me how to fly an airplane, and it had duct tape on both wings
like
and a patch missing.
With a motor on it.
And we had lots. There was great people up there, though. It really is, because up there it's how it used to be here more. I guess everybody helps everybody.
Yeah.
It's not
well, because you ain't got any choice.
Exactly. It's not well, the next person's going to come get them, because there might not be a next person. There was families that lived 100+ miles north of us, remote, and it'd be just a whole family, which I'll say their names, but y'all won't know them, but it's the Mailer family. They lived almost to the Canadian border north of Chalkitsik by themselves. And it was one girl, I think 4 boys, and the mom and dad, and they were remote. They had a garden, no power, no none of that, just kerosene lit candles in the house. And they hunted, they lived off the land. They had a garden during the summer months, and they would store their food. And they would come to town, and when they'd come to town, I always thought it was hilarious, because everybody up there ran 20-foot flat bottom boats with about a 40-horse Yamaha 2-stroke motor on the back. That was the thing,
Yeah.
And the Mailers would come into town, they'd have a 20-foot flat bottom boat with a 25-horse Yamaha on the back, and it's not even planed out from all the people and the kids.
Loaded down.
Oh yeah, and they'd all come to town, they'd leave, and they'd come back, and every time they came back, they'd have a brand new boat, brand new motor, brand new snowmobile. They'd have parkas on, but they would come trade in their fur. Well, through the winter, they'd accumulate $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 worth of fur.
Really?
They had no living expenses other than their money, for food, and that's it. That's it.
And most of their food, they're eating what they that fur was eating.
Yeah, and so they would do that, and like I said, they'd always come back, and it never failed. They'd have a brand new boat and brand new motor, and they'd go up there, and the next year you'd see that little 20-foot flat bottom with that 25 Yamaha coming back into town.
Button down there.
And you'd see them when they'd come back through, that brand new boat go by, everybody be smiling and waving, and a day later you'd see the dad come by in that little 25, just a pushing, going upriver. And he never complained. He was just a happy guy. It was a happy family,
Yeah, you wonder, I don't want to give up air conditioning and central heat and all of that, but at the same time, we're giving something else up, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know,
I can tell
how
you
you reconcile it. But.
Up there, summer months and stuff like that, other than, when you get over the initial depression of the dark and the cold, everybody's happy. They don't have the weight of the world that we live in. They don't have the weight of, well, I don't feel like cooking, I'm going to go drive to town and get McDonald's. No, you're going to cook every night or you're going to be hungry, But at the same time, they don't have that power bill. They don't have that gas bill. They don't have a cell phone constantly buzzing in their pocket, And I'm the world's worst. I'll get on my phone during the day when we're just sitting loading out beans. I may be on my phone the whole day talking to folks or watching the markets and doing stuff like that. And up there, that's never a thought that's in your mind. You don't have that weight on you. You're never thinking about, well, I've got to sell this to do this, or I've got to go to work from this time to this time, because up there it just didn't. It wasn't a thing. And
I think the darkness would be the hardest thing for me.
Yeah.
I think I could live off the land would probably work. I could probably adjust to that.
Yeah.
But the darkness would be tough.
Look, man, when I tell you have to be a jack of all trades up there, because you're going to be in more pickles than any situation you can ever be in down
I would imagine you got to be somewhat of a mechanic in a problem solver.
Absolutely. If you can't use a pair of vice grips to rebuild a motor, then just don't even go out in the bush. I did it many a times.
I don't have any good hunting stories, but I got to tell you, we were in Nevada, mountain lion hunting one time, and those people lived, their little family lived in one spot, and they had a trailer that was the school on their land.
Absolutely.
And they had a couple of neighbors that would come over, there'd be 5 or 6 kids in it or whatever. So we were 60 miles from a gas station or something like that. Anyway, we're way out in the middle of nowhere, and that it's their home. They know how to deal with all of this.
And they know every tree, every rock, every bush.
So we're tracking mountain lions, and we get up to this place called Mahogany Mountain. I'll never forget that. And it has a switchback going up it, And I ride, somebody gets up the top, long story short, and can't get the 4-wheeler cranked. Same kind of stuff you're talking about. It's cold up there. It's snowing.
Yeah.
Couldn't get the four-wheeler cranked back. And they said, Stafford, can you drive a four-wheeler? Yeah, I can drive a four-wheeler. So I'm going to ride up with one of the guides on the snowmobile up that switchback to the top. And he's the first thing he said was, sit on the back where you can jump off if I flip this thing, because we'll both die, basically, on that switchback. We'll fall off switchback. So immediately I'm going, what have I got myself into?
Now I got to drive a four-wheeler back down this?
Yeah. Well, that didn't bother me. What bothered me was he was wide open on that snowmobile going up. And I'm like,
yeah,
what? So we get to the top, and he can't get it cranked. And all I'm thinking is, I ain't riding back down this mountain with you. So I said, get out of the way. And I found the little, Honda used to have a little pack of tools.
Yeah.
And I found the little pack of tools, took the spark plug out, dried the spark plug up good, put that thing back in there and cranked it. I said, I'll meet you at the bottom.
Yeah.
He beat me down by 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm going, because you look right there.
It's a cliff.
It's death.
Yeah.
But I was like, there ain't no way in the hell I'm riding back down this mountain.
First gear applying both brakes.
Truthfully, I'm probably safer with him than me driving the four-wheeler, but I was just like, I have control now. But I did. I was like, I'm going to fix this. We fixing this four-wheeler. I ain't riding back down with you.
Up there,
He said, I don't think we can get it. I said, the spark plug is fouled out or something. And we did. We got it. I got that spark plug out, and it was wet, so I knew what to do.
Oh, yeah. Get a lighter out and burn it a little.
Yeah, I was like, I ain't riding back down with you. You crazy, man.
Shoot, man. A lot of people don't understand. A snowmobile is essentially a street bike with a track and two skis. And if anybody wants to argue that, I have plenty of videos from adolescent me on very modified snowmobiles, because I can't leave anything alone. I've seen 140 miles an hour on a snowmobile.
Them things are moving.
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And when you think you're in the Yukon River, it's wide open, flat. It's frozen ice, snow on top. You just go.
There's no, what's the word I'm looking for? There's lots of traction, more than you think with that.
Yes, absolutely.
But nothing to stop you. Those skis just glide.
Yeah,
it is just.
Yeah. And it was a great time up there, though. Like I said, I remember one time me and a good friend of mine, he's passed away now, Everett Nathaniel. We had a trap line, and it was 100 miles from our village to his cabin and back to the village. That was exactly 100 miles. And we would take that snowmobile down that trail, and it was just through the trees. We had cut it four-wheelers and snowmobiles and just made the trail. We had, I think, 4 barrels of fuel stored at his cabin, and we would fill up the snowmobile. We'd fill up a couple of 5-gallon cans in the toboggan, which down here everybody calls a hat a toboggan. Up there, the sled behind the snowmobile is a toboggan.
Yeah.
We would fill up some cans, and we would leave. And we would check our trap line up there. We'd spend the night at the cabin, and we'd come back, we'd check the trap line back, and 2 days later we'd go back again, and we did that all winter long trapping.
What kind of stuff were you trapping?
Lynx, marten, mink, wolves, wolverines.
Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yep. And I'll tell you right now, out of all them animals, when they're in a trap and you go up to use your snare to euthanize them, every one of them's scared of you, except for a wolf and a wolverine. That wolf is going to try to get away from you just so he can come back and hunt you.
Yeah.
That wolverine is going to look you in your eyes, bite his own paw off, and come at you.
Yeah.
No cares in the world. He's coming for you.
They're mean little bastards.
Oh, yeah. We would get
How big is a wolverine in real life?
Oh.
Not real big.
Yeah, they're a medium to large dog, if that.
Like a coyote size, something like that?
A little bit smaller than a coyote, yeah. 50 pounds, give or take. But when I tell you mean, you pull up and everything else gets caught in a trap. They just kind of stay put. They'll fight it a little, but they stay put. A wolverine is going to pull up every tree, every root, chew off every limb, everything around in reaching distance.
So y'all were trapping them in like snare traps, kind of
snares and footholds.
Yeah,
we would do footholds with dead drags on them, and then we would do snares off trees in their trails, because snow's this deep up there. Everything's got a trail going through it. You can catch
figure it out pretty
easy.
quick.
Oh yeah. And I remember one time.
And y'all had wolves get caught in them sometimes?
Oh yeah, we would trap wolves. We would find a wolf kill, a fresh kill from the wolves. And an old native guy taught me years and years ago. So the wolves have one trail in and one trail out. They don't peter patter around. Same trail, lead wolf leads. They come in, they eat, they turn around and leave. And he taught me you boil your trap so it has no scent whatsoever. Use rubber gloves so you don't use scent. When you coming up to it, you cut your snowmobile off while you're still driving so it'll coast to a stop because they can smell the exhaust difference on the ground and they will avoid that area. That scent difference, they will go way off that trail to avoid it. When you get there, you make your trail coming in from the back to that moose kill. You come around and you get right at the carcass and you put your first foothold trap. And that lead wolf's going to hit that trap. Well, then you come back out, 10 to 50 yards and you make a full circle around that moose kill. All the way up to their trail. You don't put one on their trail. That lead wolf's going to come in. He's going to hit that first trap. He's going to do the distress call so the others are going to scatter because it's no longer safe. They know not to go in and out on that trail anymore because he got. So they panic and they go. And that's how we would get, anywhere from 1 to 5 of them at a time. And a wolf fur was selling for around $500 to $600 a fur.
Really?
Oh yeah. And we would try to trap them, which everybody's probably thinking, oh man, you're trapping animals, this and that and other. That's the only means of income. Down here we have accountants,
you're trying to make a living, trying to survive.
Yeah,
again.
that's your only means.
He survived or you survive.
Exactly. And everybody's like, oh man, wolves, they're beautiful, they're majestic. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, a wolf is a very dangerous, oversized dog with zero house training.
Yeah.
And
they would kill you.
Yeah, the pack up there that we hunted was the porcupine. They called them the porcupine pack. And I think last time I talked to one of my buddies up there said that it was reported that they were somewhere around 200 head in that.
Are you kidding me?
Pack of wolves, which they didn't all just run together.
Yeah, but still, that's a lot of wolves.
Yeah, it was 200 in that family area there of them wolves, and I mean,
humans have been hunting them for thousands of years.
Thousands of years, yeah.
That's nothing.
And no, you got to think up there. It's 2 Texases. The state's the size of 2 Texases,
yeah.
And it has maybe a quarter of the population Texas has.
If that.
Yeah, and that's scattered out. There's not, and I'm
and what 90% of them are in Anchorage and Fairbanks.
Yeah, or down in Southeast where it rains all the time.
Yeah,
and
most of them are not in that far.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've probably set foot in many places that no other human has, and if they have, it was thousands of years prior. And it's crazy to think that, and I think about it all the time because I took it for granted. I was up there, I was living it. I never once stopped and thought, man, I need to take this in. I need to enjoy this. It was always, man, we're hunting. We're going to go do this. We're going to go do that. We're going to go do this. It was never, man, nobody.
You were in the moment, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Living in the moment. It was never a thought process of, I bet you nobody's stood here. I bet you nobody has had a camp here. I bet you nobody has hunted this animal. Down here, when you see a deer, there's a chance that deer's on 5 other people's cell cameras.
Somebody probably saw him crossing the road.
Absolutely. Up there, there's no cell cameras.
He might get hit by a car tonight.
Yeah, you see a moose, and a moose doesn't even know what a boat is, a camp is, none of that. And
did you find that they were not skittish of you because of that sometimes?
Absolutely.
Or was there ever time when you felt like, man, I might be in danger?
Every time you ran up on a moose, it was you handled the situation.
People just don't know.
Yeah, they're bigger than a horse, and they're aggressive. We would so the natives and all of us, which we adapted going there and hunting from here to there. It's a big culture difference, and we adapted to hunt like the natives because when in Rome, and which it worked out way better. And they would get in the boats and they would just run the river, and you would say you go buy 50 gallons of gas. You'd burn 25 gallons going upriver, so you knew you had 25 gallons to get back home. And that's what we did. We would just run the rivers in our boats, and you'd see a moose standing on the bank, and you just idle down the boat and idle up there to them and shoot them, And you wanted to shoot one close to the river because then you got to pack that heavy sun gun out. Yeah.
What Jeff Foxworth say? The fun is over.
Yeah, absolutely. It's no longer fun.
Well, a hind quarter weighs 250 pounds.
Yeah,
like one of our whole deer is a hind quarter. Yeah.
And that's what everybody's like, man, I don't know, if you shoot one way back in there in the brush, that's going to be a lot of work, You're better off deboning them than just deboning the whole thing and carrying the meat out like that.
That's what my friend, gosh, I can't think who it was, told me this now, but he said he went moose hunting in Alaska, and he said, if I go back, I'm only shooting one if he's standing on the boat.
Yeah, absolutely.
He said it ain't nowhere close enough.
So, Steve Barnes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Steve came up and stayed with us for a while, and we took him hunting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, me, my dad, and Steve. My dad had a 17-foot flat bottom boat built with a 175 Mercury inboard jet, which I later took on as my own, which was a bad idea. But anyways, Steve and a few other folks hooked up to that boat and pulled it from, I think they drove to New York and got it, and then pulled it from New York to Fairbanks.
That's a pretty
And then-
good drive.
Yeah, oh yeah. And then they went hunting, of course. I think it was Chris Waldrup and Steve went up there. I can't remember who all it was on the first trip. And then Steve came back and went moose hunting with us again. And we drove, well, we didn't drive. We ran the boat 7 hours at 40 miles an hour north of our village hunting. And we had a bush plane come in and dropping barrels of fuel, every
I was going to
certain
ask
spot
you
on
how they got
GPS.
the fuel there. That's bush planes were
bush
bringing that
planes
in.
would come in, they would set out fuel, and they would ping it on the GPS for you where it was stored at. And so when you're going up the river in your boat, you're like, okay, I've got fuel cache stored here, and
That's
we would
wild.
do that. Oh yeah, and it was
So
yeah.
nothing happened without planning up there.
No, absolutely not. If you didn't,
Or you stranded somewhere.
If you didn't plan it, then you're not still here.
You're
to talk
going
about
up
it.
river.
Yeah.
It ain't like you can float back.
Well,
I guess if you go up river to hunt and run out, you can float back.
So that's what I was getting to, the story with Steve. We took off and we got way up there. We got into the Canadian border edge and we were coming back. We had shot, I think, 1 or 2 moose and we were coming back, which is subsistence hunting. We would bring back the meat, give it to elders. Everybody in the village would get some meat so there wasn't anybody hungry. But we were coming back 7 hours up there, camped one night, and we were coming back and the water had dropped and there was a gravel bar across the river. Channels this wide on both sides, cut banks, trees hanging over. There's no way to go through it. So my dad just says, y'all get down. We're going to jump this gravel bar. And we did. He had 3/4 leg sand on the bottom of that boat, and we jumped that son completely out the water.
Why
and
the leg
landed
sand? Just protect
for going over that gravel and them rocks.
Protect it from the
bottom of boat.
aluminum. Yeah.
You rip a hole in the bottom of the boat up there, that's that.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah. And so we jumped it, landed, took back off again. Well, we stopped, made camp. Hot tea, warming up, make a fire. Got in the boat and fired that sun gun up, and it wouldn't come out of idle. It was in limp mode. Mind you, we drove 40 to 45 miles an hour for 7 straight hours to get to where we were. And that sun gun wouldn't come out of idle. We're coming down the river going at about 5 miles an hour. And I think we floated for 4 or 5 days, and we had ran out of everything except for moose meat.
And Steve's with y'all at that point.
Yeah, and Steve's with us. And I was cutting the sun-dried moose meat off the quarters and putting syrup on them and eating them. That's all we had was moose meat and syrup. That was it.
Oh,
and we were coming, and it was
not
late.
the worst thing that could happen.
Not the worst thing, but still alive.
But moose meat and syrup is not everybody's A1 choice.
After you eat it for a few days and that's all you ate, it's time to do something, And we pulled it on the bank, and we were going to set up camp. We were going to go to sleep, and we were wore out. We were dog tired. My dad and Steve laid down a tarp, big blue tarp. We put our sleeping bags in it. Now we just pulled that tarp over us and went to sleep. We woke up the next morning, there was probably a foot of snow on top of us. We rolled that tarp back, got everything picked up out of the snow we got in that boat after cleaning the snow out of it. My dad fired it up, and the check engine light went off, and that sun gun ran wide open, and we did not stop that boat until we pulled up to town. And when I tell you we pulled up to town, I don't think my dad came off plane when we hit the bank. He was just,
He pulled right up on the bank. Y'all probably run right off the boat with it.
We were, I remember when that boat planed out and we took off, that we had about a half a tank
Did
of gas.
Steve ever come back?
He did not. He did not.
I'm going to ask Steve about that next time I see him.
We were going, and my dad looked down. Like I said, the boat had about a half a tank of gas in it, and it planed out and took off. My dad looked at me, and he said, you better go up there and put gas in it. And we had 35-gallon drums in the boat, and we would siphon the gas out. And I remember me being, 13 years old, and I'm up there with a siphoning hose trying to siphon the gas out of the drum while we're wide open going down the river, and I'm trying to get it, and I finally get it going, and we did not stop. We didn't stop to fuel up. We didn't stop to make camp. We did not stop for anything, and we got home. It's just there's nobody to come get you if you don't have a satellite phone. They're eventually going to come look for you, but normally when you're on a week-long hunting trip. 2-week-long hunting trip, they're not going to come look for you for a week after that.
I was going to say, until that is long gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, when they come looking for you, if you're dead, you're already dead.
That's it.
You're going to die.
Yeah, they're just coming to recover what they can. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what, like even in Nevada where it was sparse out there, because that's desert. It's the opposite,
absolutely.
Desert.
Yeah.
Like I was like, y'all don't understand. They have to drive back toward town to deer.
Yeah.
It's so far out the deer won't go out there.
But shoot.
And like we think, they live out in the middle of nowhere. There's really not a middle of nowhere in Mississippi.
No, there's not. Everywhere in Mississippi,
you're
you can
10 minutes
find
from a
somebody.
gas station. Yeah. You're 10 minutes from a gas station.
That's not to say that you're not still in danger.
Correct.
In these places, because like I was telling you earlier about me almost biting the bullet of deer hunting.
I go hunting with Art Tidmore one time, and they had that late. I don't know if they still do that now. That late deer season.
Yeah. Yeah.
where you can hunt primitive weapons.
Yeah.
And so we go up there and we got primitive weapons. We're hunting on what basically is Sandy's family's land outside of Yazoo City. And I've never been there before, ever. So Art takes me in, and we walk around that day, and I kind of get a little bearing for where we are. And we go around. He says, all right, that stand is right down there, but when you come out, go the other way.
Yeah.
And come this other way and come up to this green field, and I'll be here waiting on you. So I sit there to pitch black dark. Pretty much is the way I hunt.
Yeah.
I sat there to pitch black dark. I go to that green field, no Art. I can't find Art anywhere. And Roy, it got within 30 minutes of that, and I just thought, well, I'm gonna just sit here and wait on it, because that's what they say when you start roaming. So I sit there and wait on Art. Art never shows up. I could hold my hand up like this and could not see it. It was that dark.
Yeah.
So I can't see nothing. I can't hear anything, and it's just quiet. And so I finally hear this stream running, and I'm like, I think I know where I am now from that stream. But I could look straight up, and I could see openings in the trees, so I could see the path.
Yeah.
So I'm walking like this, and I remember running into a fence. Just ran slap into a barbed wire fence.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I know a fence goes up, so I'm just going to follow. And I did. I followed the fence all the way back out to the gravel road. Yeah. And when I got down the gravel road, Sandy's brother was coming down the gravel road. They were looking for me on the gravel road. Yeah, and I said, a lot good y'all are. But that was the only time I went. Of course, it's a small place. I went, I'm fixing to spend the night out here. Yeah. I didn't think I was going to die, but I really thought I was fixing to spend the night out there.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I have no idea if I'm walking the right direction. But I remembered that fence, and I thought, I can't walk off the property without hitting that fence.
Absolutely.
And I walked until I just ran all over it and followed it around. But that's even here, think of how small, that's like 200 acres.
Yeah. And up there, I'm in millions.
Millions, of acres, And that's just here in Mississippi. Look, and so we get back to the camp, and Sandy's brother looked at me and says, you need a drink. Your eyes are crazy. I said, they're not adjusted to the light. I've been walking around in the dark for 2 hours.
The pitch black dark, not just the dark. But
I heard him, by the time I was almost out, I heard him crank 3-wheelers up to go look for them. They waited like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I told Art, I said, I went exactly where you told me to.
He said, no, you didn't. Lost, yeah.
He said, it started getting dark, and I left.
God dang. Look, I'll tell you a crazy one about Alaska up there. And people always argue with me, and they say there's no possible way. In Chalkeetzik, 100 years before we lived there, was an Indian-Eskimo war. And that was back bows and arrows and spears, not, guns and stuff. It was very primitive. The Indians won. The Eskimos dispersed the ones that were still alive. And that was that, right? Me and my dad, we've gone way up river. I'm talking about, this is the farthest I've ever been upriver. We were up there. And we pulled over, and there was a Y in the river where two channels met and converged. And we stopped on that point. And it was me and my dad and one of the local natives. And we stopped right there, and we were going to make camp, tea, cook lunch. And I looked up, and there was a set of human footprints coming down that bank. Bare human footprints. No shoes, I'm talking about a bare human. Walked out of the trees, down onto that sandbar, walked down that sandbar a few hundred yards, and walked right back up into those trees. And I looked at that, and I looked at my dad, and I looked at the native with us. His name was Jonas. I said, Jonas, you see that? And he said, yup, we'll find somewhere else.
Really?
And we left. And, I talk about it a good bit. I'll talk about it with my dad. My dad says, I don't remember that. I remember it clear as day, because never in my life have I had a chill go up my back.
So who do you think, who did the native think it was?
Not a clue.
Really?
So, I was telling you about the Mailer family. We had to go by them. They're the last stop before you're in full-blown no man's land. And we got back there, and they said, no, that sandbar that's up there, nobody can get around it. Nobody's gone past that sandbar about 40, 50 miles north of us. So nobody has been up that way. Well, we're another, 100 miles past that. We're in absolute desolate nothing. And we asked the Mailers, we said, well, have any bush planes been up there hunting, landed or anything like that? They said, no planes have landed up here. Nobody's gone past here in a boat. Y'all are the only ones.
In a long time.
Yeah, and we told them about it, and I told Mr. Mailer, I was like, well, there was some bare human footprints come out from the woods. Of course, every state's got their superstitions, their things, and that's what he told me. It was a Na-in, which is pretty much their, Bigfoot mythical creature up there.
Really?
Yeah, and it supposedly would come kidnap kids, imitates women crying and babies crying, and kidnap folks and whatnot. And he said it was that, but they also said that they've seen footprints and homemade snowshoe footprints walking in the woods, and checking their traps, and they would go check their trap lines, and some traps would be gone, you know, and their whole.
So somebody maybe out there.
Somebody was taking it, but they said it wasn't like a store-bought snowshoe. It was built out of a willow and weed with sinew and willow trees, and so I mean, it's a good chance there's still people living out there that have never been contacted that are avoiding, you know, contact.
It's just so far, man. Who knows what's out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's wild because I've gone up there and I've spent, you know, 2 weeks of my life without seeing another human, completely by myself in the woods, not seeing another human for 2 weeks. You don't hear another voice. And I mean, you don't hear planes, you don't hear jets, you don't
see chemtrail.
Nothing. There's absolutely nothing. It's just you and the wild.
Is that a good feeling sometimes?
It's a good feeling until you hear something that shouldn't be out there.
Yeah.
You know? When it's not birds chirping and you hear something, you're like, well, maybe I need to find somewhere else, you know. Well, yeah, it's crazy to think about it, you know. And a lot of people argue. They say, oh, there's no possible way. And there's a possible way. And
well, y'all got up there.
Yeah, ain't no doubt. And if you go look, so talking about that, I read a story not long after that, and the story's been in my mind for some reason. During the war, when everybody was kind of hiding, and I want to say this was in Russia during World War II, a family left, man, woman, 2 or 3 kids. They left town. They went just as far as they could walk, built a cabin, and they lived out there, remote, never went back to town. Well, after the war was done and everything, a plane crashed near them, and they went and talked to those people. Like, those people found them, and they talked to them. Those people, the kids had grown. They were in their 20s and 30s. And this is an actual story. You can look it up. I can't reference the names and stuff because I don't know it. But the kids had no clue that there was still civilization. The parents thought that the world had ended.
Oh, heck.
Like, they thought like it was done. The war had killed everybody. And that the dad had passed away. They just had a little log cabin. They were living out there.
That's and like those Japanese that were living out in the wilderness after World War II and didn't know. They were still fighting.
They
were still killing people.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, we couldn't have lost.
Yeah.
They didn't know they'd lost.
Yeah.
They thought the war was still going on.
And you got to think that was for what, 3, 4, 5 years after the war? Something like that? Yeah. Maybe longer? Well, you got to think up there, they didn't know about civilization, period.
So the Japanese thing was 20-something years.
Oh, it was 20. Okay.
20-something.
Okay, so you see
like in the 1970s, they were still hiding in the woods thinking the war was going on. They were old men.
Yeah. And they're close. Yeah, they're close to civilization. Now imagine out there where there is no civilization, and you and your family went to go fight this battle, and y'all are losing, so you left. Well, you already live off the nature. You already live out in the wild. You live off the land. What's going to stop them from living there for 100+ years? I guess just lifespan. Well, then the next generation of kids, they're going to live. There ain't no telling how long they can live.
You know Milo Hamilton? He's the rice economist guy. Your dad knows him because he used to come to Mississippi Rice and Grain and buy all the rice from Uncle Ben's. But he's got a company now called First Grain, and they advise people. But what's cool about Milo, or Mr. Milo, he's like 83 now. He speaks fluent Russian.
Really?
Yeah. So when he got out of college, I guess he got out of college, and he went to like Stanford. He's super smart. He speaks like 5 different languages. Yeah. Like 3 fluently outside of English. Anyway, they put him in Alaska at a listening post, listening to the Russians talk.
Listening to
because he was he can fully speak it.
Yeah.
Which is funny because if you speak English and Spanish, they're kind of similar. But English and Russian are nothing.
No,
and he speaks Mandarin
Chinese
too.
Really?
Yeah, so none of those 3 languages.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. What did they say about Russian? It's like all the buttons on the calculator you never use. What are they even saying? Yeah. But he was stationed in Alaska at some remote post, and all he was doing was listening to the Russians talk all day.
Probably down on the Aleutian Islands.
I guess that would have been in the 60s. Yeah.
So
isn't that wild?
Yeah, that's wild. And he's from here. This area.
Milo is not from here, but he would come through for Uncle Ben's and buy. He lives in Austin, Texas now.
Okay, I got it.
But he's really from somewhere around Kansas City.
Okay.
Yeah. From the Midwest.
Yeah. But you talk about that. At one point, we lived down southeast on the coast, Ketchikan, publicly known town that everybody knows about because it's a major tourist destination. Well, we also lived on Prince Wales Island in a little village called Knockety, which it was modern. It was white people logging community. That's what they did. They logged up there, the giant forest and stuff. Everybody logged. Everybody fished. Everybody did offshore fishing, deep sea. Daddy had shrimp pots, crab pots. We halibut fished. He had I think it was a 26-foot boat called the Lucky Duck. I found a photo album the other day with it, me and him in there.
Really?
And we would go out there doing that, and you'd always hear people talking about picking up radio chatter from Russia on your marine comms and stuff, and you would.
Yeah.
You would.
It's so close.
Yeah. And
like everybody laughs at Sarah Palin when she said, "I can see Russia from my house," but it was true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like she looked at the house, there's Russia.
Yeah. And so there's one island in between there and Russia and whatnot. And we've been close enough fishing that I could see that island with binoculars, which you're not allowed to go to the island because of endangered bird species and stuff that live on it. But, puffers and stuff like that live on that island. But I could see that island with binoculars. And on the other side of that island, the landmass you see is Russia.
Yeah.
And it's just, it blows your mind because when you look at a map, or you look at a globe, you're like, that's a huge body of water. But in actuality, it's not that big.
It's a few miles, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
So the puffers are endangered there?
I think they were endangered.
Because I think it's like somewhere in Iceland or somewhere they hunt those things.
Yeah.
With nets. Have you ever seen them?
Yeah.
They'll be on the side of those cliffs and they'll
Catch
scoop them up into down.
Yeah.
I'm like, that seems like the hard way to do it.
Absolutely.
But I guess if you shoot one on that cliff and he falls, you're not getting that either. So.
Yeah. But yeah, up there though, hunting, like I said, duck hunting, man, we would go and we would take our boats and we'd just run the rivers and they would jump off the sandbars and we'd shoot them, which that's natives, that's what they did. So we did it, I'm not trying to incriminate myself. So, down here, you shoot something from a motor vehicle, they're like, hey, that's a big no-no.
You're trying, but again, you're trying to survive. You're shooting food to eat.
Absolutely. And you got to think there's.
It's like we can go to the grocery store or eat the game we kill. But up there, y'all basically, all the meat was wild game.
Yeah. And gas was $6 a gallon. And I was 15, 16 then. So that was, 16 years ago, 17 years ago.
So
it was $5 a gallon then. I pack them all.
You're not going to go to the grocery store and buy beef.
No, absolutely not.
Some people up there probably don't know what beef tastes like, do they?
Yeah, I guarantee it. There's a lot of them that have never tried it before. It was so when my mom was teaching.
What was the most popular thing to eat though? I mean,
moose meat.
Moose.
Yeah, moose meat. And when I tell you every piece of it, it was every piece of it. You ate the head. They dry out the intestines, hang them up, smoke them, and dry them. Every stitch of meat. Yeah, the hide came out with you. They would make clothing with the hide. They would tan it. They would take the bones and use those to make tools and whatnot for old-fashioned stuff, knife handles, skinning, stuff like that. Every piece of the animals that we harvested were used. And like ducks down here, we kill ducks, we breast them out, cut the legs off, we're good. Up there, we plucked that entire duck. We'd have a campfire going. We'd singe the little bit of feathers off of them, hand them to another, and the old ladies would be there, and they'd just be cutting and gutting them. And the whole duck was used. Yeah. There was not a part spared. And they would have one kid over there picking the hearts out of the gut piles and, the different organs that they would keep and eat. And that's how we did it. And we would get some birds now. I'm telling you, we would get some birds. We would carry a case of shotgun shells with us and we would go. We would
you ever watched Meat Eater?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one thing I like about them. They, at the end of every show, they're going to cook what they kill.
Absolutely.
They're very ethical about that. We do this and we're going to consume it.
Yeah.
It's not going to waste.
Yeah. So you saw where he has his camp in Southeast Alaska?
Yeah.
I wasn't far from there when I lived on the coast.
Okay.
Yep. And I shot Sitka blacktail up there. When I tell you right now, everybody's like, oh man, it's a deer. Don't think about it as a deer in your mind. Think about it as a Labrador retriever with horns. Because when you shoot a Sitka blacktail, they're this big.
Really?
I shot one, he was a 6-point. His horns were this wide. You couldn't put your boot in it. And everybody's like, oh man, that's a great deer. And I'm thinking down here like, I've seen some 140-inch whitetails. Like you can ball this deer up and put them in his horn.
Have you seen that little? It's a species of elk, but it looks like a small deer. In one of the Meat Eater episodes that he hunts in North or South Carolina in the marsh.
Oh yeah.
And they're little bitty things, and they run around bugling, and they bugle. I was like, dude, I want to go do that.
Yeah, it's on an island, a remote island outside of like North Carolina or something like that. And they were introduced from Europe, and they're not roe deer. What are they?
They call them a deer, but they're really an elk because they bugle.
Yeah, they're closer to an elk descendant. They're like,
but they look like a deer.
I think it was a musk deer, maybe
something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember, but they were hunting them out.
I want to go do that.
That would be awesome.
just to do something unique.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And everybody down here, we want mallards. It's all about the mallard. You got to get that green bean. Everybody's chasing. Up there, we would kill black ducks, and what everybody down here calls a black duck is not a black duck up there. and it's a lesser or a greater surf scooter up there, which is a diver duck.
When we think about black duck, it's a type of mallard.
Yeah, it's a type of mallard,
but that duck up there is like jet black.
Yeah, it's a jet black ocean duck that's called a lesser and a greater surf scooter.
Do they taste good?
Oh yeah, and they're just a butterball. They look like a butterball turkey. When you pluck them and singe them, it looks just like a butterball turkey. They're about this long.
Really?
That big around.
So pretty good sized duck.
Yeah, they're great sized duck. They're like a little football flying through the air, you know. And they are wide open, boy. That's some fun shooting. That's the fastest pace shooting you'll ever do in your life. You know, when they're coming in, they're just.
But they got the mallards too.
Oh yeah, every duck species. So where I lived at in Chalkeetsit was the X of the flyways. All the flyways that come from down here and all across, they crossed and converged right there.
So what time of the year are you hunting ducks there?
In the spring, when everything's thawing out. Yep.
So March.
Yeah, somewhere in
early
there,
March, late February.
Yeah, well, sometimes you get April. You get in April pretty good is about when we're hunting, and there's no snow geese up there. No snow
Where
geese.
did they stop short or something?
Yeah, they stop in like Canada somewhere in there. I killed probably 4 snow geese the whole time I lived up there, and snow.
I don't know what to think of the snow. It don't seem like they're good for much.
No, they really aren't. I know you know the recipe, the best recipe for cooking a snow goose, right?
I know several good ones.
Yeah, you put them on a cypress plank and season with everything in the cabinet, and then you throw the goose away and eat the plank.
Yeah. I like my granddad used to say he didn't like bass, largemouth bass. And he said the best recipe he had was go out in the pasture, find a cow patty, pick the cow patty up, put the fish under it and leave it. Eat the cow patty maybe, but don't eat it. He didn't like bass. But I feel the same way about snow goose.
Oh, yeah.
I had when we had the festival here, some guys did some specks, and they just seared it in a black iron skillet.
Absolutely, man. A thin slice, quick sear. That is some of the best eating you'll ever get. I love speck.
And I've done speck before, and I didn't think it was good, and I'm like,
it's all
dude,
about,
I'm 100% missing out. This is like eating filet mignon.
Oh, yeah. I noticed with just about every waterfowl, if you do it medium rare, and do it
you can overcook it so easy.
Oh, you have to do a medium rare on waterfowl. You have to. But like I said, you get them specs, you do a good medium rare with a quick thin slice sear on them, and man, it's hard to beat that, man.
It really is. I was so shocked, and then there is a little gaminess to it, but I didn't think it was as gamey as like a mallard. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everybody it reminded me more of a wood duck, because wood duck's not real gamey to me.
They eat a lot of nuts and stuff like that.
And it just I don't know. It tastes good, but they did I think it was a blueberry like syrup almost they made that or compote or whatever, and they poured over it. But it was good without it, man. I was like, I'm so shocked because that's why you get orange with duck so much. That sweet,
that
balances
sweet
that stuff.
A little, yeah. And see, me growing up, wild game was life. That's what we lived on, And so I got down here. I'm still wild game is life. I'm skinning a deer. And we got a fire going, it's 20, 25 degrees. I'm going to have a fire going. I'm going to throw a griddle on it. I'm going to cut a chunk off that deer and throw it on that fire straight off, salt it and pepper it. I'll eat that son while I'm cleaning.
I'm taking him to Dane now.
Absolutely.
I got to the point now, it's just, when you told me I killed that deer a couple years ago and you said, Dane, cleaning everything for another $50, I went,
it's
for real?
Yeah, just drop it off. Yeah. He cleans guts, capes out for mounts. He does the full process. He does the whole 9 yards. But
he did my European mount. I love the European
mount.
Oh
yeah, he does great, dude. He's probably the best at doing Europeans.
I know that the taxidermy guys got to get what they get, but it's kind of like, I love my airplane pilot, but it's kind of like airplane pilots. They've almost priced themselves out of business.
Absolutely.
It's like, man, can you really pay $800 to $1,000 to get a deer mount?
Yeah.
And my wife doesn't even really like shoulder mount deer.
Yeah. Well,
but she likes the European mount.
Well, my wife likes the shoulder mount deer in my mounts, but she doesn't like that I have them set up in the living room and it looks like a hunting camp. She got on me about that.
There you go. So my wife is like, you can have one in the dining room, not the dining room, the den, but she doesn't want shoulder mounts hanging in there because it's cypress. It already kind of looks like a hunting camp. It's all cypress, and she and I over the years, and I don't know if you know this, but a guy named Mr. Savell built my house.
Did not know that.
And they milled the lumber out of Gripman Brake.
Really? So right there.
Yes.
Yeah. Everything.
So that whole house is cypress.
That is cool.
They milled it down. It looks, and even like the boards in the roof are cypress.
From right there in the brake.
That
is awesome, man.
So
you don't find that anymore.
No.
You do not find that anymore.
No, it's so cool. So he was Mr. Savell, and I think I'm going to get this story right. Mike Manning told me this, Mr. Mike. not Michael, but he built that house.
Yep.
And he would come in and clean your lot up. He had a little dozer. He would get the plans and build the house, and they had a mill on site. They would cut the lumber, let it dry, then they would mill it down for what they needed. And Jerry Grissom used to work for them too, and he said if we needed a board that was 2.5 inches wide, we just milled out a 2.5 inch board.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't go back and match that out.
No.
You're not going to buy anything. There's nothing standard in that house.
It's all hand done. Yeah.
Well, it was all, they had an actual mill sitting on site.
That's what
they just mill whatever they wanted. So they loaded everything up and went out to the Manning place over here, and he was going to clear off a lot for Mr. Manning's house. And he backed the dozer off and rolled over and killed him.
Really?
So that was the last house they built. But he was like way ahead of his time as far as a builder went.
Yeah.
And
That
he was
is
building
awesome,
some
man.
incredible houses, yeah.
One man, couple of machines, couple guys to help him.
Yeah,
And they went and
Yep.
they did the thing, you know?
So
You
the
don't have that
Gripmans actually
anymore.
built that house.
Really?
Yeah, that was part of the Gripman place. That's where the Gripman place ends, right there on that corner. And so they had the lumber mill right there. Of course, it's been the Shurden house a lot longer. It's been the Gripman house now.
Yeah.
Because Daddy bought it in 70. Oh, God, he bought the house in 75 probably. 74, 75. I was a couple years old. And then I bought it when he died. But so it's been the Shurden house a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
50 years almost.
And you know, a lot of people don't think
50
about
years.
that.
It's been the Shurden house 50 years.
Well, you know, we got all these large corporations coming in, these outside entities, and just investors buying all this land, buying all this farmland, buying all these
Bill
houses
Gates.
and everything. Yeah. They never once, which I'm not going to say they don't because I don't know their thought process, but they don't stop to think, all right, that house has been in your family since the 70s. That farmland that you're farming has been in your family since probably the 50s or 60s, you know? That's like my family farm, my grandfather's place. He bought it in 1954, and he has owned it ever since. That has been in our family since 1954. He has a house out there that he raised my aunts and my dad in, my grandmother and my grandfather. And that house has been standing there since probably the 60s, you know, early 60s, late 50s. And he had that house built, and it's still there. And like that's a pillar of our family. That's not, you know, people don't think about it like that. They're like, oh, it's just a farm. That's a piece of dirt that you've known your whole life. That's a piece of dirt that your dad made all y'all's memories together on. That's a piece of dirt that's ingrained in you.
Well, I'm 52, and like I've been hunting all my life, and I think all of the fishing and hunting on those places that we fought. And it's funny now because our headquarters was right there on 6-shooters.
Yeah.
So if you drive, they got it roped off now for the winter. But if you drive through 6-shooter hunting club, it's all trees now. There was a pole barn there. That was our headquarters.
Yeah.
And so you leave my house and drive straight toward Parchment on that gravel road, go down there, and there's a house there, the Junior Saxton. I remember Junior Saxton. I'm bringing up old names now. And just the stories I remember, like there's a lake right now with trees that are taller than this building. I remember walking through cotton there.
Yeah.
And now it's all trees, which honestly, that ground probably should be in trees. It wasn't that good of dirt. But yeah, everybody talks about Bill Gates buying all this ground. And I told people all the time, you know what Bill Gates wants? The rent.
Yep.
He has no clue what he owns.
Nope.
I don't think there's an ulterior motive. I think they just thought it was a good investment.
Yep. One thing that doesn't lose value is land.
It doesn't lose it very often. And, if
there's
it does,
no more being built.
over a 30-year period, farmland has never lost value over
Not
a 30-year
once.
period.
Yep.
So if you're planning on being in it long term, it never loses. It might lose in the near. We may have a crash next year with farming being what it is, but it does not lose value over time.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that blows my mind because I've put pencil to paper as long as I've been farming, which is this is my 8th year farming. And every year I put pencil to paper and I try to figure out just how I can afford to buy some land via farming.
You can't right now.
Every year that gap gets bigger. You know, I'm trying to figure out how to fill this gap. Well, every year they find a way to put 2 more steps on
Well,
it.
you need a lot of cash.
A lot.
You got to be able to put a lot of cash into it. And so if you don't have a lot of cash, you can't do it. And there was a point there, you know, when I first started farming, I've been farming on my own. This will be my 27th crop on my own. But I did 4 working for Daddy.
Yeah.
You know? So 31 years. But there was a time early on when I was farming where you could buy land and make it work. But you still had to have 10 or 20% down, and I didn't have 10 or 20%.
Yeah, you had to have
right?
that capital to put down on
So
that. Yeah.
I was not in a position, and I thought a lot about this over the years. You know, you can think yourself into a coma. I think.
Oh, absolutely.
But Daddy and them quit. Daddy and Reggie quit in '99, and then that's when I started farming in 2000. But if they had stuck with it about 5 more years, they would have been in a real position to buy a lot of land and just pretty much pay cash for it.
Yeah.
And no telling what kind of money the Shurden family would have. But, you can't, it don't work that way. You can't overthink it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
then I bought a little bit. And, I couldn't have bought it then if the landlord, and I just felt like he wanted me to have it, but he owned or financed it for me.
Yeah,
That's the only
absolutely.
way
That
I
makes
could
a
do it.
huge difference.
Yeah, and then when I
absolutely.
got in financial trouble, I ended up selling it. Now, in retrospect, I shouldn't have sold it.
Hey, look.
But
life
it's
is
done now.
about-
Yeah.
life-
And I got a
life's
good
about
landlord. I mean,
situations.
Jeb's a good dude, and he's a good landlord. He's been good to me. But I thought, man, if I had to done that, it would be paid for today.
Well, see, that's my grandfather was
And
telling me.
I'd be a millionaire just on land.
Yeah,
and it'd be paid
absolutely.
for. If I hadn't
Absolutely.
done that, and could have paid everybody off that owed.
Yeah. Well, see, that's my grandfather was telling me when he bought that place. I think he was in his early 20s, and he told me he went and borrowed $100,000 to buy the first half of his farm. And today's money in the 50s that was millions of
It sounded
dollars.
like a
in
lot of
today's-
money to them,
yeah.
though.
And he paid for all that farming. He paid for every bit of it, and half the place was in trees. And they had a sawmill set up. They had dozers and guys out there, and they clear cut them trees and opened it up. And it's been in farmland forever. And I'm the third generation to farm that place. And my grandfather, he told me just like he told my dad and them. He said, "You pay fair cash rent. You rent the place just like anybody else would. There's no."
Yeah.
So that way, nobody can hold it over my head and say you got the
Some
easy
kind
road.
of easy deal, yeah.
And at the same time, I learned this is how the world works. There isn't handouts. People ain't gonna just give it to you. Oh, here you go. You're fine. Go ahead and farm it. No, you've got to pay for that stuff, and you've got to work to earn that money to pay for that stuff.
Yeah.
And if you don't work, it don't work. And
It's I don't know. I gave a talk to the extension service. You don't remember all of this. I mean, you remember cotton being around.
oh yeah,
But in '99, Daddy retires. They put everything in the sale. Same kind of deal. Everything's in the sale. If you want to buy some of it, it'll be in the sale. That's the line they gave me.
Yeah.
And so I ended up picking out 2 tractors, and DeWitt did the sale, and they put a figure on everything, what they thought it would bring. And I bought 2 tractors, a planter, and a disc, pre-sale. So based on what DeWitt put it at. So the fair price.
Yeah.
And I said, that instead of me coming to bid on it, here's the tractor that I used to drive plow and plant cotton with. I bought that tractor and kept it for a long time, and started on my own. But I remember Daddy telling me, he said, "I don't think you need to get into cotton farming." And cotton farming was still good in 1999. But he said, "I don't think this GMO thing is good. It's going to get to where you can't make a living farming cotton." And I didn't really understand that then. But he saw the change coming. We had that 96 Freedom to Farm Act where we could come in and plant corn. The first time there was ever corn around here was 96.
Really? I did not know that.
There was no corn in the Delta before that. They wouldn't let you plant it.
Really?
The government wouldn't let you.
Huh.
So you couldn't draw your cotton-based money if you planted corn. So nobody planted corn.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess you technically could have, but you'd had to forego that money. So we planted corn in 96, and it started, you could see everything was pushing toward grain. And I just feel like we're there again. Like we're in the same place cotton was. Where 5 years from now, what the hell are we going to be farming? Because I don't see how it can be. You sure as hell ain't going to be rice.
No.
That's been a terrible situation.
Man,
I don't know,
Yeah.
but I told them guys at the Extension Service, I'm not smart as my dad was in 99. I don't know what it's going to be, but it ain't going to be what we're doing now. Because there's no way to bankroll it, like you said.
There is.
You try and figure out how to bankroll land, you can't even bankroll the seed fertilizer anymore.
You can't bankroll just the production cost of the farm. And that's without, you don't even add in a living expense because that's
Correct.
your only job. You can't make it work on paper.
Well, that's why I'm selling books and doing a podcast.
Absolutely.
Because that's what I told my wife. I said, I can see where I can make a living. I can make our cost of living out of doing content.
Yeah.
And maybe then the farm can make it.
Absolutely.
That's really what it boiled down to.
And I mean, then in situations, you're probably going to have to take some of that money that you have for a living to pay some of these bills so you can stay rolling.
I'm hoping that as small as I am now, that I can just keep my little farm going. And it's almost a hobby farm. It's so small now, and make my living doing content in the restaurant business.
Yeah. Well, you have different venues of income. There's a lot of guys like me That our only venue is.
I worry more
the
for your
farm.
age group that's kind of not quite established yet.
Yes,
And
I don't
still
have the
got a lot of
equity.
equipment.
Yeah, I don't have the equity. I don't have the money put back. I don't have any of that because when I came into it, it was we had a couple of good years, but it's been bad years, and so
The yield has been good.
Yeah, the yields have been
We're
great.
just not getting
but-
enough money.
Yeah, and
I saw a great graph the other day. If you look at consumer prices over time, and we pay consumer prices for everything we buy.
Everything.
So everything we purchase is
Everything.
attached to
Yep.
consumer price. So the consumer price index since 2020 is up like right at almost 30%, between 25 and 30%. Now there was a big spike in soybeans. If you look at the reduction in soybean prices since then, is 40% reduction. But even if you look at over time, we're still 10% down. So that's 35% difference between we lost on one side of what we're paying for everything to lose on the other side on what beans are bringing. Yeah. And so we're just getting absolutely hammered in a way that people do not understand. And I made you asked me about that video I made where I was comparing the price over time. And it got hung up in this algorithm on Facebook and I'm not wanting to get political, but it was mostly Democrats commenting on it, saying you should go home and set your house and your kids on fire and stuff like that.
Yeah,
we don't need farmers
horrible.
in America.
That's horrible.
And I do blame the other side for some of our problems too. But it's like, man, if you don't understand it, you can't. I mean, this podcast is great, but you can't eat a podcast.
No. Yeah. That's a fact.
We'll all be in Alaska hunting for a living or something because you can't make it. I mean, you got to have farmers. So we don't want a handout. We want the price to be fair.
We want it to where we can survive doing what we do.
Yep.
I don't want them to say, "Oh, okay, well, I'm sorry you lost, half of your operation here. Let me just give you a check to make up the difference." No, because in the next year, guess what? We're in the same boat.
Yep.
It's a gruesome cycle. If they don't fix the problem, then we're going to still be in the same boat.
I don't know that it can be fixed. I think we're in the same boat as cotton. I don't think it can be fixed is what worries me, especially on the rice side of things.
Yeah, the rice has gotten bad, and I feel...
And you're going to lose... So, like, even if cotton came back today, the infrastructure's gone. We couldn't all start planting cotton because the gins are gone.
Yeah, this place used to have, 13, 14 gins in Drew?
In 1949, there was more cotton gin in Drew than anywhere in the world. And today, there's 0 gins in Sunflower County.
Not one.
In the whole county, 62-mile-long county. And Drew's like 1 square mile. But so that infrastructure's gone. Yeah. And I don't think those guys could have foreseen that. So I don't know if we're going to be farming tomatoes or what, but I don't think we're going to be farming corn and soybeans and rice.
You got to do something, man. And I hate to say it, it's just it's a way of life that's gotten so hard that it's almost come to an end, and it's not by choice.
Maybe it all should be in WRP. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know.
That'd be about the only way you can make some money off some land because, like I said, we're paying the price of our rent, the price of our equipment, the price of our fuel, and I mean, heck, even labor prices. You know what I mean? And I hate saying that because I love my guys that work for me. They're family, you know, and I'm going to take care of them before I take care of me. But it's gotten to the point to where you can't hardly afford to pay somebody because, all right, well, now I can't have 5 guys working for me doing this job, which used to take us 2 days. Now I've got 2 guys doing it. It's taking us 10 days. And you're still coming out with the same amount of money. You just can't afford the equipment.
I do think GMOs played a role in this because it made farming really, really easy. Because when it started, Daddy said this is too. He didn't like it. He said it's too easy. Anybody can do it now. And I didn't understand that. And I was like, but he didn't just mean your neighbor down the street. He meant a big company in Argentina or Brazil could do it too. And so they've torn down 290 million acres of rainforest in Brazil since that 96 Freedom to Farm Act. And we midwifed that thing through our GMO products into existence down there. And now there's too much grain. And it's like, what the hell are we going to do now?
Yeah, we're running out of rainforest.
But he was 100% right on that. If we had not had that, a lot of what happened down there couldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't have had the technology. So I don't know. I know that self-driving tractors are real and they're coming. That's probably going to help some. I don't know, man.
Well, the thing is, like me and my dad were talking, which my dad's an old-fashioned farmer. He's probably forgot more than I'll ever know on a farm.
For sure. Yeah.
And I can tell you this firsthand, everything I can do with a computer, with auto steer, with modern technology, he can do it with a row marker, an open cab tractor, and his old equipment. He does it the exact same with the same yields, with the same outcomes.
Yeah.
And I'm paying more for it. Well, now that old equipment's costing more. But like my dad said, he said even with modern technology, you're still going to have to hands on.
Oh,
that
yeah.
tractor's not going to change its own bearing. That tractor's not going to
No.
change its own oil.
It may be though where I think this might happen where you'll be there and you'll have 3 tractors running and you'll be handling all of them.
Absolutely.
With no drivers on them.
Yeah.
That may be coming because I thought about, like, it's just me out there on the farm now. They got to, and you know, you can retrofit these older tractors on with this tech.
Yeah.
So it may be, they got it now where you can sync the grain cart with your combine.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah,
now that may be something I want to do this fall.
Absolutely.
Is sync the two because I don't have a driver for my grain cart. And then when the grain cart gets full, I can just jump on it and take it to the truck. But it, you know, I can make 3 dumps. I can be on the go rolling like it, and then the drone technology is getting there. They ain't there yet.
Absolutely.
I see too many streaks for my drone guys. I love y'all, but I see too many streaks right now. But they're getting there.
Oh yeah. It's going to be a big
That's going to
change.
become more affordable. But right now, man, that 8010 I had it caught on fire is basically the same as the new one. This what $950,000.
Yeah.
They're the same. They're the same platform.
Yeah, they're the exact same.
And those things were $250,000 new.
They
What's
changed
going
some
on?
buttons. They changed a few things. They put a new decal on it and a different motor that probably cost them the same amount or less to produce.
Well, and it's not.
And
maybe they can put 5 foot more capacity on the header.
Yeah.
But the inner workings of that thing is the same platform, and I'm just like, is it worth 4 times as much money?
And my thing is too, people always talking about farmers. You brings me back to, you know, folks telling you light your house on fire and whatnot. People say, oh, well, you're a farmer. You have this brand new truck and you've got, you know, millions of dollars worth of equipment. I don't have a brand new truck. I drive a 2016 model that's got a messed up motor right now that I'm trying
driving
to
a
get
2020
fixed. You know
that's
what I mean?
really not made, that I bought from Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Exactly. Yeah, I fully understand. And I mean, right now I'm in a 1989 Geo Tracker because my truck's down. You know, and but what I'm getting,
you're still driving the Geo Tracker?
Yeah, the Geo Tracker's outside, man. It never fails. The heater might not work, but I got a buddy heater in the passenger seat. Okay?
Do you really?
Absolutely, I do. Absolutely. I stuffed that big deer I shot in the back of it. I had that deer loaded up. I folded down the back seat.
In the Geo Tracker?
Yeah, my brother-in-law helped push.
You've been driving it like a month.
Yeah. Can't afford to get my truck fixed.
There are those guys that make us look bad, like you talk about, but most of us are not doing that, especially right now.
Well, yeah, and what they see is, all right, so they see these big-time operators that are farming, you know, 40, 50, 60,000 acres. Well, they have the time and the resources and the guys to go fly those drones, do those videos, do the helicopter passovers of them spraying with the, you know, 5 spray rigs running, and they see that and they're automatically like, all right, you farmers are rich. No. 1 in every 100 might be rich, but the rest of us are struggling.
And there's some guys that back in the day made some money.
Yeah.
There really were.
Yeah.
There was a time when you could make a little money farming, but I really do think that GMO has a role in how we got here because everybody thought it was easy. Everybody was making a little money. You didn't take a lot of skill to do it. Yeah. Like your daddy's got, you know, growing up, having to hold a row and all of that. Yeah. Between all the technology, people looked at it and went, I can go out there and get me a brand new pickup.
Yep.
You know, I can get that loan. I can pay myself more money than I'm making now. And then you're going to pretty much make a crop because of GMOs. And the bank money would, see, I don't even know if you realize this, but when you were in Alaska, we could borrow money on like 3-4%.
Yeah. And now it's 10, 12, 15,
and
you know.
So money was cheap to get. Like, and I could buy a truck with 0% down.
Absolutely.
You could go get a 0% finance.
Yeah.
It was like,
and it was a $20,000 truck. And that was a nice truck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or if you wanted a nice one, might be 30, 35 back then. But
and now
I mean, that was top of the line.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're getting it at 0% finance. And so, yeah, it did look like that. But and some guys are still trying to make that work.
Yeah.
They're in trouble.
Yeah, you can't.
And we all know about the guy in Tunica last year.
Yeah.
That he had to sell his, you know, he didn't have to sell it. The bank came and got it. His sports cars and his house in Aspen and all of that. Those guys are dropping out.
And see, and it's those
they
big
were not making
that,
money.
Yeah,
they just were making a show.
Those big operations are what make us
look bad.
You know, small operations look bad
when they're actually not making any money. Yeah. They're getting repossessed.
Yeah. And I mean, our farms are just like any other business you see. You know what I mean? You have big banks, you have small banks. Big farms and small farms, okay? That big bank might have giant white pillars out front and 15 tellers in there, you know, but they probably got a ton of debt that they're having to cycle and operate to function. That small bank only has 1 door in and out and 1 teller working in there, but that bank's probably making a profit and they're running but they're not showy and flashing. They're not huge. They haven't gone. Well, that's the same way with the farms, and that's what people don't understand. They see a farm, they see $1 million combine, they see a $50,000 truck, they see 3 or 4, $500,000 tractors. That's a note we're paying. I don't know about you, but I didn't go in there and write a check and say, I want that one.
I don't have anything new.
Yeah, I went, how much money can I get to buy a tractor? And they punch into my numbers and they say, well, we can give you $80,000. Okay, so that means I can go look at these tractors with this many hours because that's what they're selling for, you know, and I'm paying the note on them.
The flip side to it is if you got a lot of money and you want to get into farming, now might be a good time because you can buy some equipment.
Yeah, oh man, that's what me and my dad were saying. My dad said,
but it's kind of like I'll tell you a story Quincy West used to tell me, and then that'd be a good quitting point. But he used to tell me what all you could buy for $1. And he said, I could go to Cleveland. He said, we'd ride the horse and wagon to Cleveland. And he said, you could take $1. And he said, you could go to the movies, buy popcorn and drink, probably a hamburger at the movies, and then after, you could go and buy ice cream, all for $1.
Yeah.
But nobody had the $1. Yeah. And I feel exactly like that. You can buy a real nice tractor right now for $50,000-$60,000, but I ain't got the $50,000-$60,000.
That's what me and my dad were talking about. He said there's going to be a lot of good deals. He said, and it's going to be a dang shame we got to sit there and watch them.
That's exactly. He hit the nail on the head. But I feel like Quincy West. I just ain't got the $1.
Yeah, that's a fact.
He said it didn't matter how cheap it was. Nobody had the money.
Yeah. But shoot, man, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it was fun.
I said, this was awesome.
I don't know how long we've been, but it's probably been about an hour.
Oh, yeah, I imagine I probably got 5 or 6 missed calls from my wife over there.
Well, you have video evidence.
Yeah,
you
I've been here.
Yeah.
I'm not up to no good, I promise. I'm with the judge. I can't get in trouble.
Former judge.
Yeah, former judge, my bad.
Yeah. You can get in trouble. You can get in trouble with a real judge. I'll tell you one more quick story.
Yeah.
Then we're going to go. But I took Judge Charles Pickering duck hunting way back in the day when I was guiding duck hunts. And every time we shoot a duck, he say, because we had a bunch of pintails coming in, and back then you could kill one.
Yeah, on the point system, or was that after?
No, this was in the early 2000s.
Okay, yeah, so yeah.
And so Daddy was still living. He was the judge at the time. So this was probably about 2004. It was the year before this place opened.
Yeah.
And but every time we kill a duck, how many pintails have we killed? And I mean, he was a federal judge, and I said, Judge Pickering, you federal judge, aren't you? You worried about how many ducks we kill? He said, if you want to be on the front page of the Clarion Ledger tomorrow, let's just kill over the limit.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Today's episode of Breaking Bread was brought to you in part by Shurden Farms. You can get the hat and the Archie t-shirts. I know you guys love the Archie shirts. We do have them for sale on ShurdenFarms.com. Please go check that out, ShurdenFarms.com. We got some other cool stuff on sale there as well. We ship those. Sometimes we run out. We ship them as soon as we get them back in stock. Right now, the Archie shirts and the hats are both in stock. Go to ShurdenFarms.com to check it out.